Okay, we are on to our next project, which is to put a fireplace on this wall. So we're going to frame in another wall and put in a fireplace in this space right here against this wall. And so the first step to doing that was trying to design what it is we want to do. And I should have brought them in, but we've got some columns that we salvaged, that we got from a architectural salvage place that are part of a mantle. We're going to incorporate those into our mantle. So we designed the mantle around those columns to some degree, and also around the size of the firebox that we want to put into the fireplace. So we designed that, and then there's a dimensional issue I'll get to in a minute regarding how we're going to do the surround and the frame that goes around the fireplace. We needed to make sure that we had the firebox set in the opening either too far forward or too far back. So in any case, the bottom line is we came up with the plan, and then on my CAD program, architectural occupational hazard, I got in the CAD program and I went ahead and got my framing plan for all the different walls that I need to frame to put the fireplace in place here. So these are my working drawings, if you will, that I'll take out to the shop, and I'll actually start framing these walls and then bring them in and install them onto here. But the main issue that we had to run through was with the firebox. And I'll take you in here. The surround that's going to go around this firebox is going to be tile, but there's an air gap that needs to be away from any combustible materials on the sides and the top of the firebox. And then there's this frame, as you can see, that goes around the opening as well. And so the idea is to have the tile that surrounds either butt right into this side so you don't see the unfinished edge of the tile, or to tuck behind it. And we've opted to tuck behind it because we need the from a dimensional layout standpoint with the size of tiles, that works best for us. So then it became, well, how far does the box need to go in or out of the framing to provide the clearance that we need for the tile to tuck behind that frame? And so that was a dimensional issue we had to walk through, and it was easier to do on the CAD program, but you could do it on a piece of paper or whatever. But the bottom line is figure out how much thickness we need to get around that, and that's where we set the box, either further forward or further back, because it has these little tabs on the side that will actually, you can't really see them, but they'll fold out, and that's what gets attached to the framing. So the framing has to be 3/4 of an inch away from the box all the way around, but it has to be close enough for these tabs to nail into it and set either far enough forward or back based on these tabs. So that's what we had to work through to figure out how we were going to get this tile surround to be flush with the box itself. So now we have all that stuff figured out, hopefully correctly, and I'll go frame walls, and then we'll come back when we've got a bunch of walls installed. That's it. We're done.
That's it.
Action Jackson. Okay, we're at a point where we've got most of the framing done. There's still a section that's similar to this back here that goes on top of this to go up to the ceiling where we'll put crown molding around, but I can't put that on until we can attach this mantle shelf. And we can't attach this mantle shelf until I make the supports, or well, really just have to make the bases, because those salvaged architectural columns I referred to in the previous video, those are what go right here, the old columns that go on each corner, so one on each side right here. So we have a mantle shelf that comes off of this, and then this one, and then that goes on up, similar to where this is boxed out like this. So that's where it's at. You can see I've got my clearance around the firebox itself that I need. And then there's a frame, metal frame that covers most of that, if not all of that actually, and then the tile goes on around that as well. So that's, we start to put hardy board, backer board on this for the tile, which will give it an extra 1/4 inch of thickness here, so that my paneling that's going on, the wood paneling that we put in, will all fit right. But anyway, that's where we're at, and I could not be happier with how it all fits. That's spot on, dead on, perfect, everything's level. We do have an issue, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but the wall is pretty much flush to that little bump right there that, again, you probably can't see it in the video, but the wall kind of goes and then it turns and kind of falls back, that plaster. So if I push this corner all the way back here, on this side, I have, I don't know, 2 inches of gap. So what we'll have to do is basically cut that side 2 inches shorter than this side, and we'll take out a center section that will be underneath the boxed out part that you'll never, it's not even seen. So the bottom line is that'll allow us to push this back so it's flush to the wall on this corner and flush to the wall on that corner. And the wall also leans backwards. So to get this face plumb, so this face is plumb, so it's flush with the fireplace, we had to block in the back of this. So if you were to see from the side, which you really can't see, but from the side, you know, it's flush against the wall at the bottom, but again, it's about 2 inches out on the top here. So there's blocking behind it. So that whole wall's basically tilting backwards. But we'll deal with that in the finish. But we got it framed in, blocked. This is all plumb and level, and we're good that way. So everything will go smoothly, and we'll just have to deal with this back here and on the other side back there where we had to block it in. So that's where we're at. Hey there, hi there, ho there. We're back again with another installment of building a fireplace. And last time we showed you all this that was done. This is the mantle shelf, if you will, the upper one. There's another lower one here. But this is the one that'll be here with the columns coming off of either side. And that's what's, it's not tied in or anything up there right now. That's what's framed, and we kind of mocked it up and then put it up there just to see how it was going to all work. And we realized we had another issue we had to overcome, and that was the ceiling's not flat either. So you can see I measured from the sides, and you can see my measurement for those 2 side walls was dead on, but the center is lower. And so when I made this large wall the same height as the side walls, it binds and hits, and we can't fit it underneath the ceiling there in the middle because it gets lower right about here. So we cut 1 inch off of it and then put it back together, and so we're down a little bit, but that's all we cover with crown, so it doesn't really matter. But that's why we did the mock-up and tried to install it and just said, okay, here's where we're at, and we realized we had one more issue to resolve before we went any further. But that's where we're at. The TV will go up there. This will be our big mantle, and then a smaller mantle here as far as shelf, and then the tile surround, and then lots of pretty decorative moldings and stuff, but that's future video. Greetings. My producer director tells me it's time to put another installment into our building a fireplace video. So here we are. This hasn't really changed much. We've got conduit in to run some, surround sound stereo speakers or HDMI cables or whatever, etc. If we need to do that, it runs to the basement, so we can then go from the basement floor anywhere into this room and pop up to where we want to put anything. That's more future-proof for us. It's not something we're doing right away, but that's something that we're putting in so that we'll have access to it if we ever decide we want to do something down the road. Obviously the power for the TV that will be going up here. Other than that, I've been working on getting panels glued up. You can see the panels I'm standing on. There's 2 of them, a real big one that goes up there, another one that goes here, as far as these face panels, and gluing up the shelf for the mantle, and getting them cut to length, etc. So that's kind of where I've been, other than these columns, and trying to get these columns taken care of. And I wasn't real happy with some of the things that we tried initially with them without doing a whole lot, and decided, forget this, we're gonna scrap it and kind of go from scratch. So I did use part of the base, but I added a board to the back and then made new bottom and top plates for it. and getting that all lined up so that it's level with this, where the shelf will be coming off of this, and then level across this way, of course. So the bottom line is we're trying to get this all figured out so we know that we can put the big shelf on top of this and have it all work out the way it's supposed to. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll leave some of the other details as far as corbels and things like that we're still going to do to fancy this thing up, but kind of at this point, and the gas guy comes tomorrow to run the gas line for me, and once he does that, I can start putting on all the finish boards and completing everything. So that is the plan. I don't know if there's anything else I'm forgetting.
Well, you had to drill what you had to do for the
drill.
What was you were burning stuff yesterday?
Oh,
yeah.
well, the wood's real hard, and I have a hole saw to cut through the floor to get this conduit down to the basement. So it was slow going with a hole saw through that hard wood. That's this old wood that's been around forever. It's just hard stuff to get through. So I felt like I was catching the place on fire because it was smoking, and I'd slow down and try and go. But yeah, it was some work, but that was done. So there's just a hole in this corner there. Well, this is going straight down into it. So it's a straight shot down into the basement. But that was it.
Okay, we'll stop there.
Good morning, good morning. We're back again on our fireplace project and have a little projects that we're working on here that we think might be helpful for you as far as little tips and tricks on things. Our issue as we've gone through encasing this is obviously we have this wall that we talked about before that's leaning backwards, and so I've got a gap here as opposed to flat against it and had to block it in, etc. So while this face is plumb, this is not, and so putting a board on there, you have to deal with that taper, if you will, and plus getting around this baseboard on the bottom. And so you scribe it is what you do to actually get it done. So what I've done is taken a scrap piece of wood that I have, and I've already done it for that side, but you basically make a scribe. They make tools for this, but I'm too cheap to buy one. If I was a professional finished carpentry guy, then maybe I'd invest in a scribing tool, but I make my own. Some people put a nail through one of these flat pencils. I mean, there's a million ways to do it, but basically you need a square, if you will, with your pencil and something that you can put against the wall, and then the pencil will scribe what it is that you want on your board. So basically this way this works is, and you want something thin so it's not being affected by, especially in a plaster wall like this where it's moving in and out and not just flat. But the bottom line is you're putting that against the wall, and that keeps your pencil at a fixed distance, and you hold it level, and then all you're doing is just putting it there and then putting your pencil on and then just drawing your line straight down. And it'll follow the contours of the wall, even down here where I get to here, the baseboard, and then as you push it down, it goes on out and then it goes on down. And so you end up with your line scribed onto this pattern. Now if this was an actual piece of wood where it would, a lot of times what you'd be doing is cutting this and then putting your board on and then cutting that in a straight line where you needed the length. In my case, I know I have a plumb line here, so what I'm going to do is take the edge of the board I'm going to cut, and I'll measure the distance from here to here, and that's where I'll place this corner of my pattern, and do the same thing on the bottom, and that places this profile on the board where I need it to be based on the distance from here back. But you could go the opposite direction and just cut this off after you've scribed and put it in. But I don't have a board to waste like that, so and a room. So the bottom line is, this is easier. It's a single cut for me, and that's what I'm doing. So we scribe those, put them on, and then I can work my way back around to the front and across and out. So I've been basically working from the bottom up, and you can see facing as far as how far it's going to go, and this is where the tile comes in. There is a gap behind this. So the tile will actually be, you know, it would be flush against this and flush against this, and just tuck a little behind this frame as the tile surround goes around. And then there's more going on, you'll see later in the video, but that's where we're at. Got the conduit, I think I showed that before, but conduit for surround sound, anything that we need to do to get to the TV, any electronics. So got that in, it runs to the basement so we can run it from there anywhere we want. That's basically where we're at. The gas line's in, comes over. There's a bit of a project, task, but it's in. Floor key, turn off the gas here. And that's where the plumber wanted to run it. We talked about putting it in the wall and a number of other things, but that worked out best for them. They said, so that's where it is. And that's fine with us. And so that's kind of what we've done since the last video. Get the gas line in, get the Hardy backer board on for the tile, start casing this out, and we're pretty close. The shelves will start to go on, and then these columns will go on as well. So that's where we're at. Hopefully should be done with the casing today, or close to it. And that's all I have. Welcome back to Fireplace Building Land. Here we are, giving you a quick little update on where we've progressed to. We've added these trim boards around to kind of make everything pretty without any of the moldings themselves. And we've got our columns now in place. So the bases have been set, and then the columns set on top of that. So that's all now complete, other than paint obviously and sanding and all that. And then the shelf will come out on top of this, come out to about here. So that's our next step, is to put the shelf in, and then I have the framed walls that will go on top of the shelf to take it to the ceiling. And so we're getting close to being done with the framing and the casework. And then it's just moldings and making things beautiful and sanding. And then she gets to paint.
I think we'll both be painting, right?
Okay, we'll both be painting. There you go. So that's where we're at.
Okay, it looks fabulous. It looks really, and we got these columns at
An architectural salvage place.
Yeah.
Madison Street.
Yeah.
Madison something architectural salvage
in Franklin, and you could kind of see the detail. They're really very cool. They're really old, but you had to go through a lot for us to be able to use them.
But we are.
Yeah, they look great. Okay, we'll be back.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take it off, please.
Yes. So this is what it looks like with the top shelf on. It looks magnificent.
Yes, we're back again. And Eileen thought it'd be a good idea to show this scribing process on the wall with this shelf that's going up the mantel shelf. So what we've done to prepare this is basically make this face parallel with the fireplace itself. We don't want it skewed and keystoning one way or the other. So this is parallel with the face of the fireplace. That's what we did first. And then from there, we determined where the widest point was from the wall. And it's this corner down here. So then I've created my little scribe tool like I did with this wallow on the sides. And so basically you can see my pencil is going to be out here at the edge of the board. And then as you move in, you can see it's no longer at the edge of the board. And it continues to change all the way through. So basically all you're doing is setting this up and then scribing your line, keeping the pencil on the board and the wood spacer on the wall. And in doing that, I'm scribing the line that I need to cut to make this board that's square fit a funky wall. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Okay, we've got basically everything done that we can get done, and this board is going up there. So this panel that we glued up, it will go across there. I've cut a hole for the media box into it, so this will go here. There'll be a plug and 2 blank panels that we can use for whatever we want to run to it. The conduit is right there, which is right below, right here. It goes down into the wall and into the basement, so we can run wires wherever we need to run them from there. And we have decided that we're going to add an additional plug. So we'll come off of this box and daisy chain over, and I'm going to cut a hole in this side panel over here down low so that we can put a lamp in this corner, or if we want to put the subwoofer over here, or whatever it is we want to do, we'll have power to this corner. And so I'm just going to run power back on over here. I probably should have done it earlier, but we weren't thinking we were going to need a plug over there really, and then we decided we probably should. So that's what's up next. We also have a piece of crown molding that's ready to go, and we'll put it goes up around the top once it's there. So crown will go across the top of this. TV will cover all of this. We do have the mount for that as well that came in, so we're pretty much ready to do everything from here. We just have these final little things to finish up and then get it all up and get it painted. And then we can mount the TV and put the gas logs in. Oh, we have the tile. So do the tile. Welcome back. We're final stages here on our fireplace, and all we have left to do at this point in time is the tile surround and the grout that goes with it. And other than that, we're pretty well done. So you can see we've added all the applied moldings, painted, got the TV mount up, the media box filled in. We ran to this side, an outlet here. Zoom in on that. So we've got power now to that corner. So we have power on both sides of it now, as well as up in the middle. And the gas fireplace is in place, so the gas logs, the pilot lights going right now, etc. Should we turn it on?
Turn it on. See the magic.
We have a remote. So there we have our fireplace.
So then we'll be back when it's all completely done, the tile and everything. Will be right. That'll be the last video.
Last video, because everything else is done. We are complete other than the tile surround.
And that should be done in a few days.
The TV. We have to put the TV up on the mount. Other than that,
In a few more days, and that should be it. We should be done. Anything else you want to add? Any challenges? Any words of wisdom for others?
Grand adventure. Word of wisdom. If you get one of these, this is from Empire or White something hearth, I can't remember, but in any case, that's the sassafras log kit and the glazed burner on it. And if you buy one of these, install the remote and all that wiring, the on-off switch, etc. They're just little clips that go on, but do it before you install the gas burner in the box, because that was the hardest thing of putting the whole thing in, was getting those 2 little clips on those little connections. So if you buy one of those, install it before you screw the burner down. There you go. That's my tip for the day.
Okay, and we'll be back with one final video when it's all done.
Okay, this is our last video in our Build a Fireplace series. We are complete, and this is our finished product. with everything hung and operational, and not sure what all she wants me to point out here, but you have the top section with the crown molding, the TV mounted there, all the media box there, the wires hidden, etc. Then the main shelf, the corbels underneath, the decorative applique in the center, columns, and then the surround with the tile, and gas log, fireplace, everything, we're done. And then to the left there, we added the 2 shelves that have the same profile as this shelf, and made that grandma, whatever.
Great grandma, great Granny Waddick.
Great Granny Waddick corner. There's the Great Granny Waddick corner. So it's got her chair and everything over there. So anyway, that's the final product.
And why'd we choose the tile? The tile is, again, we talked about some people may find this not attractive, but that's not
the
us.
tile itself with the, I call it like a quilt where you got different colors and it's, just kind of randomly thrown around. There is some symmetry to it, but all the colors that we figure it's going to be a love-hate kind of thing. Some people are probably going to love it. Some people are probably going to hate it. They're not just plain. I don't know if she's zoomed in on them, but there is a pattern in it that is, more than just a plain tile, which I think adds quite a bit to it. And it all worked out great as far as layout. I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned, it fits flush to everything and just gets barely covered by the frame on the fireplace. And so math does work. Dimensionally, it all worked out the way we wanted it, and we're pretty happy with it. And
yes, very, very. We're thrilled with it.
If you aren't, well, you don't have to live with it,
I
so
don't.
that's okay.
Well, it's in keeping with the folk Victorian look, that we
It
didn't
is.
want anything really formal in here because it doesn't go with our house.
And especially when you look at the columns and the corbels and stuff, they're pretty formal. And so this kind of a little bit of a contrast and dresses it down a little bit and just makes it a little more in keeping with our little folk Victorian home. So there you go.
Total budget,
That's you.
we came in at $4,000
$4,000 with tools.
with tools.
So that's buying the router and the bits, and
It was like $450 worth of tools.
so there you go. So almost $500 worth of tools that I get to keep and use for other projects, but
Yeah. So otherwise, you were able to do all of this for
$3,500.
$3,500, which is pretty amazing when you think of all
And
of the.
that's paying to have somebody run the gas line and all that as well. That wasn't, there is a skilled labor in there as opposed to unskilled labor. So that's the gas line, the valve, the stop, everything, all the electrical that we ran, the media box, the columns, all the moldings, the crown, all the framing, all the wood, finished wood to case everything, mortar, grout, tile, hardy backer board, everything. That's everything.
Yeah.
And paint.
And paint, yeah, that's all in there, all in the budget. So we
So,
did great.
I feel
We did
pretty
real
good
well.
about that.
So what's your next project, David?
See how long I can sleep.
No,
What is
we'll
the
be
next
back.
All I do in some windows, I guess.
Yeah, we've got windows that they've cut the.
They cut the cords, and so we need to get the counterweights in so that we can open windows and not have to put a pole in and all that to keep them open. So that's probably my next project.
So
Or the ceiling.
Oh, that's right. We're going to do the ceiling in the bathroom. We'll probably be back for that too. So we'll show that one, and then we'll do the video, the one for windows.
Yep.
So more projects to come. So for all of our fans out there watching these videos. All right, we'll be in touch.
Signing off.
Signing
We'll
off.
build a fireplace.